Dr. Pellerin. I'm just gonna do some questions and answers today, kind of talking a little bit about some stuff we should be considering kind of going into the summer months with our little fur kiddos. Kind of going to touch on some prevention. I know it's kind of a common thing we talk about here on your visits, but just kind of reviewing for anybody that has any questions about it, and then maybe touching a little bit on allergies. So for everybody that comes into our hospital, a lot of the first things that we ask are, what kind of medications is your dog on, and are they on any heartworm and flea prevention? It's something that I feel like we could probably have more discussions about. We just kind of get sidetracked with other things for why your pet's here, but it's a really important prevention to make sure that we're keeping our pets safe and healthy at home, even while they're doing well and not here for sick visits. So heartworm prevention is something that I am very, very passionate about talking about. Number one, I am originally from Louisiana, which is a hotbed for heartworm disease. Florida is pretty up there as well, just because of our climate. So really passionate about talking about keeping those kiddos safe. It also hits close to my heart because my rescue kid did have heartworms when we adopted her. So I've seen her kind of go through treatment and have done a lot of research on, the best things for your kiddos and what we can recommend for you guys. So heartworm prevention is required year-round, especially if you live in Florida. Anywhere that has mosquitoes can have heartworms. We're seeing it even in places that we hadn't seen heartworm disease in 10 years, like dry climates, northern climates that don't have as much experience with mosquitoes and such. We're seeing it pop out in all 50 states. So really getting consistent with heartworm prevention is going to keep these kiddos' heart and lungs healthy. Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes like we talked about, and what happens is when a mosquito bites your dog, it can inject these tiny baby heartworms into their system that can grow and mature into adult ones. I know it sounds really gross to imagine, but that's why we have them on heart prevention, to keep this from happening. It takes about 6 months for that whole process to happen. And it's basically they lodge themselves in the vessels of the heart and lungs and can start causing damage as soon as they start growing there. It can be something that can lead to them having coughs later in life, them having exercise intolerance, not being able to breathe or pump blood as well. And that's the heart and lungs are vital organs that we need to take care of. Heartworm prevention comes in many different forms to prevent this from happening. So if you kind of go to your vet and your kiddo is not on heartworm prevention, let's kind of talk about lifestyle. Does your dog like treats? Do we like to take things orally? If not, there are topical heartworm medications we can give as well. And it's something that is usually monthly for most products. But if you come to us and you're like, hey, Dr. Pellerin, I have a really busy lifestyle. It's hard for me to remember every month to get these heartworm preventions, and I want to make sure my kid is covered. We do have injectable heartworm medications now. ProHeart is an option. They have a 6 and a 12-month shot. So if that's something that we're interested in, come talk to us about it. I will make sure your dog's a good candidate for it. There are some age and weight restrictions, but we can kind of talk about what kind of prevention works best for your lifestyle. Most of the time preventions are fairly inexpensive, especially if we're getting them for the whole year. We can kind of set you up, make sure that we're getting prevention every month. Heartworm disease is much easier to prevent than to treat. Treatment is very involved, and we basically have to go back and kill those heartworms that are living in the body. Depending how long they've been there, that can be a pretty invasive process for these kids. And it requires a lot of months of medication and injections. And if you're worried about the heartworm prevention, any kind of concerns you have about remembering it, any kind of things you've read about, I don't know what chemicals are in it, let's talk about it. And we can get your kiddos started on it and making sure that we keep them happy and healthy. And another thing that kind of goes along with heartworm prevention is flea prevention. We're going to talk a little bit about allergies, but flea prevention kind of starts off that, because if we're seeing fleas on your kiddo, we're going to see itching. Fleas are very prevalent in this climate as well, along with mosquitoes. We have all the bugs here. So making sure your kiddo is on flea prevention with that heartworm prevention as well will help kind of jumpstart that process. If we are seeing itching, that's kind of going to be the first thing we're going to ask, are we on consistent flea prevention? Flea prevention, just like heartworm prevention, comes in a couple of different forms. Orally, topically, there are some products that last for a little longer than a month. So if you have specific questions about what your pet's on for flea prevention, please ask us, give us a call, and make sure that we are, getting them on a good prevention. Oh, we're having some echo in here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna come closer. These exam rooms are a little. All right. So with flea prevention, a lot of the common questions we get is, I use a product over the counter. Why should we come in and get a product from you guys? Over the counter flea preventions do work for a lot of kiddos. And if you're seeing good results with that for your pet, just kind of double check with us and make sure that it is something that's safe to administer and it's a product that we have verified. The problem we're seeing with a lot of over-the-counter flea preventions is that because Florida is such a hotbed for fleas, they can develop some resistance. Kind of like the more they're exposed to it, the more they're gonna be resistant to that medication. So if your pet is on a flea prevention and you're like, hey, why am I still seeing fleas? This is not working. We can have a conversation about maybe switching to something that is a little more effective for them and that can start getting those fleas taken care of immediately. When we don't have pets on flea prevention, they can start to develop allergies because of that, because they can actually have a reaction to the flea's saliva, and when they bite the pet can cause a full body reaction that could be prevented by just keeping them on some flea prevention and making sure that doesn't get in your house either. Once fleas kind of get in and get on your pet, they get in the rugs, they get in the furniture. It's a pretty good process to deep clean everything and making sure they're not getting reinfected. So, keeping our kiddos on prevention is going to be, much easier on you in the long run, much easier on your pets. It may seem like a decent cost up front to do these preventions, but I'll promise you it's much easier than treating the effects if we go without. So kind of jumping from the prevention to allergies. We've seen so many kiddos come in lately, as soon as things start blooming, as soon as it starts getting hotter in Florida, where my dog starts itching, what the heck's going on? So when we're talking about allergies, we see two different kinds. Usually they fall into an environmental allergy or they fall into a food allergy. Environmental allergies are much, much more common. Those are the kind of allergies that we see kind of right around this time of year. You kind of have it in the spring and summer where your dog is itchy, itchy, itchy. Once it hits fall and winter, we kind of see it come back down. Kind of clues to seeing that your dog may have an environmental allergy is that kind of up and down of that itching cycle. We're not consistently itchy, it just gets a lot worse when we have more allergens around. Breed-wise, it can happen in any dog. There are breeds that we do see it more frequently in. A lot of times our pity breeds, they have very short coats that kind of lets that allergen get onto that skin a little easier, and they start to go and itch at it, and we kind of start to see those bumps all over their skin. Those short coated breeds, we kind of see it more obviously because you're like, hey, there's a couple of scabs here and there because they're itching. So it's probably more able to see in those kiddos, but we do see it a lot in, our poodle breeds or doodles. It can be harder to kind of see if you're not actively seeing your dog itch, but sometimes we'll go and kind of look under their fur, especially like at a groom or something, and you notice all these little crusties and bumpies all over their skin. And then you kind of notice, you're like, oh, well, they have been itching a little bit more. So breeds are definitely, does not rule out allergies. It can happen in any breed. And for these kiddos, there's kind of a stepwise thing that we do for environmental allergies. First, when they come in, we're going to kind of ask some questions about, history. How long has this been going on? What kind of lifestyle do they live? Are we outside primarily? Are we inside primarily? Do we like to go on long walks? A lot of the allergens in Florida are from pollens, grasses. We see a lot of kids when they move down here from up north, they'll be like, as soon as we hit these grasses, started itching like crazy. So those can be really common allergens that are really hard to avoid, especially because we want them to, enjoy going outside, and they have to go outside to do their business and such. So just asking questions about lifestyle is kind of going to be starting where we kind of direct our allergy protocol. And if you're seeing those signs in your pets, bumps all over the skin, we're itching a lot, especially at night, if we're licking our paws, scratching our ears, those can all be kind of manifestations of allergies. They all kind of go hand in hand. So if you're seeing any of those things, please give us a call, because that's something that, we can make them a lot more comfortable and kind of get them through their allergy season, just like we do in humans. As soon as that pollen starts coming out, everybody starts sneezing. So just same thing in dogs, they do have allergy seasons for them. And it's something that when we come in here, a lot of times we'll recommend we do some skin workups on them. A lot of times the symptoms you're seeing of the allergies, like those bumps on their skin and those crusties on their skin, are as a result what we call secondary signs of allergies, because they've caused a secondary infection because of their itching. Their body has basically alerted the rest of the body to that allergen being present. Just like in humans, it causes that full body response and they start itching. And once a dog itches, they have natural bacteria on their skin. Every human being, dog, cat, any creature has natural bacteria on its skin. And when they start itching because of the allergy trigger, they start making that secondary infection and making defects in that skin and letting that bacteria get where it shouldn't, causing those bumps you're seeing, the crusts you're seeing. So taking care of that secondary infection is going to be important as well, because without taking care of that infection, it's just going to kind of be an endless cycle where we're, treating the itch, if we're not treating the infection, it's just going to keep coming back, because that also contributes to them being uncomfortable because their skin now has a bacterial or a yeast infection present. So there's a lot of different things that go into allergies and how it can kind of become this crazy cycle if we're not getting on top of it. The way we, approach it, there are different things like allergy shots. Cytopoint and Abiqul are a lot of the ones that we start talking about in our patients, and those are medications that actually interrupt the transmission of itch to the dog's body. And so they're stopping that itch trigger and helping them not self-traumatize while we kind of approach the other aspect that we were talking about and healing that secondary infection. So it's a lot that goes into, simple allergies that may cause a lot of discomfort for our pets. There are, in addition to those kind of itch medications, there are things that we can supplement if we know that we are prone to having these allergies and we have these itchy spells and we have itchy skin. We can talk about, supplements to start your kiddos on. The omega-3s, they're great for human skin, and it's great for dog skin too. Keeping that skin barrier healthy and keeping essential fats in that skin and making sure that we're building that barrier of their skin as much as possible and keeping that as healthy as possible is going to only help them in the future, especially if we're prone to having these allergy flares. We can't essentially prevent them from, their body from triggering that response. But we can kind of make sure we manage them well and figure out what exactly is the trigger for them. I was going to check some of the questions here. So Abiqul, really good question. Abiqul has been in the news lately, and there are studies about it being linked to cancer. That's one of those things. If your dog is having allergies and having triggers, that you're seeing those flares, definitely come talk to us. There are dogs that are, Abiqul is more we'll say risky for them. We would recommend blood work before putting them on any kind of medication. Abiqul is an oral medication that is dosed to kind of, just like Cytopoint, help that kind of inhibit that transmission of itch to the brain. But there are dogs that Cytopoint is more appropriate for them, and there are dogs that Abiqul works better for them. If our dog has a predisposing factor, like we have had cancer in the past, or we've had an autoimmune disease, something that makes an oral medication not appropriate for them, we would definitely not recommend that for them. It really depends on the lifestyle of your pet. So make sure you come and talk to us about it if you have any questions about things. There are a lot of studies out there, and things are changing every day. We definitely stay on top of those to make sure we make the best recommendations for your pet. So if you're interested in seeing what kind of allergy options are out there for your kid, come talk to us. It's the most common thing we're seeing right now. Skin issues are a huge problem in warm climates. So we'll make sure that we kind of get that under control for your pet. And making sure that we, like we kind of talked about earlier, keeping that prevention on board, making sure that we, are keeping them safe. We can't, alter the environment that they live in, but we can use preventatives to kind of prevent problems from happening in the future. If you are interested in learning more about kind of the stuff we talked about, especially if you're interested in learning more about heartworm disease, there are some really good resources on the American Heartworm Society website. If you are, during quarantine are super bored and have run out of things to read and Netflix shows to watch, go on their website. They have a really cool map of the entire United States over the last couple of years, and it kind of shows little hotspots and little areas that heartworms are becoming much more prevalent, and we're seeing a lot more cases, and kind of tracking those trends over the years. You'll look at kind of the Tampa area, and there's a nice little dark red dot there. So just kind of reinforces the fact that we should be staying on top of it and keeping these kiddos on prevention as every single month. Even a month lapse in prevention can put them at risk. So if you want to, if you have friends that are asking, I don't have my dog on heartworm prevention, they're inside, they're not at risk, show them those maps. Like, this is a huge problem, and it's something that is completely preventable. It doesn't matter if they're inside, outside, half outside, if they never go outside a day in their life and use pee-pee pads. If that door opens at all in your house and you are coming in and out, mosquitoes can get in, and they can be at a really, really big risk for that. If you have any questions, please come talk to us. Like I said, it's something that I am very passionate about, having all my kiddos on, and making sure that we, prevent this completely preventable disease. I've seen the treatment, and I know how it goes. If you have questions, if your dog is heartworm positive, or if you're considering adopting a heartworm positive dog from the shelter, come talk to us as well. I have experience with it. It's not a reason that you should not adopt them. They just need a little extra special love and some treatment, and we can get them taken care of. It is something that is treatable, but I would rather prevent it than have them go through that. If you guys have any other questions about heartworm prevention, flea prevention, allergies, if you've seen some supplements that for skin, or some topical shampoos or something that you want to kind of talk about with us about your dog, give us a call. We can kind of go over their lifestyle and what's really useful for them. If you have any general questions that you think may be helpful for other people to hear, make sure you can drop it in our comments below. I can check. I know not everybody is tuned in at this moment, but if you're watching this later and you wanted to ask some questions, put them below. I'll check this page a little later tonight and tomorrow. And if there's something that we can answer and maybe beneficial for other people to hear, please let us know. And we'll kind of get that out there. And if you have any specific questions for your pet, give us a call. But I hope this has been informative. It's my first Facebook Live, so let us know how it went. But again, my name is Dr. Pellerin. It was really nice to kind of get on here and talk to you guys about something that is pretty close to my heart. So if you have any questions about your pets or anything in the future, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, thanks guys.